Christ's sakes, really. Listen, I'm so lost for words at the minute because I think it was such an entertaining game. Something I thought would be a little bit more cagey than that. I think William was talking backstage. Obviously, I thought United would probably win it. I thought we played really well. I saw a lot of negativity on Twitter today. You know, with the playing between the lines and the transition, and I think that sometimes you've just got to be patient. I thought we were very good. I thought we soaked up the pressure really well. The third goal was irrelevant. I think we'll talk about a few talking points. The offside for Garnacho, I mean, fuck me. Surely you've got to give the striker a benefit of the doubt in that scenario. Maybe, I don't know. There's too much inconsistencies for me. I'm not blaming that. Arsenal obviously deserved to win it in the end. Rice obviously questionable as well, but we're going to that in a minute. Thanks for joining me, guys. Get your comments in, get liking, get subscribing, all that jazz. Stu, I'll pass it over to you first, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Look, I thought it was a fascinating game of football, actually, from both teams. You know, you can break it down into three parts for me, really. Our control of the game was a bit sporadic. The way that Casemiro and Eriksen were just too far apart, which was unusual because at Forest last week they were kind of back to their normal selves. I thought Dalot played pretty well. I thought Wan-Bissaka played
He did.
well.
Dalot was very good. Anthony as well for me. Very good.
Yeah. What happens is that Lindelof slows our play. Now, whether people see it as a negative or whether people see it as a positive, all this playing from the back, you can do it for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes at a push at a time in a segment. You don't do it for 20, 25 fucking minutes, which is what we did. Now, Mark, you make a very good point, and I talk about it all the time about playing yourself into a game of football. I wholeheartedly agree. But when you're Arsenal and you're hungry, you're Martinelli, you're Saka, you're Odegaard, you're Nketiah, you've got energy to burn. So you're just going to push a ball-playing team from the goalkeeper back all the time, and that's what they did. And what happens there then is you have a momentum issue, because when the ball does go forward, Rashford or Anthony or Martial, they've been stood with their hands on their hips for 5 minutes because we've been dicking about from left to right, left to right, left to right, into Casemiro, back to Lindelof, you know, back to Onana, back to Martinez, back to Onana, back to Wan-Bissaka, back to Onana. And it doesn't help your momentum as a footballing unit. And, it's all right, for possession, but ultimately you get caught. And they sprung, Arsenal sprung on us a couple of times from there. Biggest disappointment for me today, the skipper. I thought he was fucking absent. I thought he was poor.
Yeah, he was. Didn't hear his name once, really.
Yeah, I don't know where he was, what he was doing. I pay no attention to skippers anyway. And people were crying out for Bruno to be the leader. I didn't see any of that today. And finally, our use of Højlund was way, way too small. When he came on, he gave Gabriel an absolute pasting. Gabriel just, what the fuck? Just get away.
Can I just say, actually, as soon as he came on, it reminded me of you a little bit, because you're always talking about sort of getting involved, making yourself a nuisance. And for the first 5 minutes, he really ruffled up Gabriel, didn't he? And I thought, okay, this is looking nice. I'm enjoying. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully we can utilise that a bit more. But after that, it kind of, not his fault, just went quiet a little bit, didn't we? And
we did that because Rashford didn't help him. Rashford had the ball. Anthony had the ball. 3 times we could have played Højlund in. We didn't bother. So it was like, what's the point of you being here if you're not going to play me the ball? And I said this. I've been talking about it for weeks and weeks about the inability of Rashford, inability of Anthony to put the fucking ball in the box. As good as Dalot played today, Reguilón would have actually been a better player in forms of distribution. Maybe not defensively, but in forms of distribution, he would have been better. And he would have given Højlund something to play on. Gabriel would have had nightmares if we brought him on and we played to his strengths. So I think, look, I'll give the performance a 6 out of 10. I thought we did okay. I thought it was a really entertaining game. I like the way that Arsenal play. Odegaard in particular is a fascinating player. Martinelli. But again, someone like Martinelli, as much as I like Wan-Bissaka, you got to show Martinelli Rose Ed. early doors. You got to boot him into the stands. You got to get him sorted, gone. Saka really had no influence on the game today, in my opinion. I thought Dallo,
Yeah, he did very well,
phenomenal
Dallo.
against him. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal against him. But what you've got to do, what you've got to look at is when Arsenal took off Nketiah and brought on Jesus, nothing changed. Zero changed. So the energy levels were still the same. Jesus was getting into space, running at the back four. We don't know what to do with Højlund. We had the same issue with Mount, and we've got to learn quickly because that kid has got something about him. His movement was good. He's very strong. He's very powerful, and he will scare defenders. But if we don't utilise his strengths, then you're going to have issues. So, look, all in all, am I disappointed? Yeah, well, I hate losing. You know, I don't even like losing to my lad when we're playing footy. You know, but you know, it is what it is. We'll talk about the Declan Rice goal. I thought it was a clear foul in the box.
Yeah, lots of massive talking points today. And listen,
anyway, that's my brief assessment.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thanks for joining me again. It's good to have you back, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Yeah, a couple of things I picked up on what you said there, Stu. They didn't know what to do with Højlund. I think you're absolutely right with that. I think there was a couple of occasions where Rashford sort of looked a little bit laboured today, but as he was getting further forward, it was almost like he wasn't sure what to do with it, with Højlund making those kind of last minute runs, you know, the different kind of runs that we were talking about a few weeks ago. And you saw that. And again, I think that's going to take a little bit of time. Crazy to think that we don't know how to play with a number 9, but that's just the way it is. And hopefully we can see that going forward. A good points there. Yeah, Fred, great to have you, buddy. You are frozen. I know you're back with us now, so I wasn't sure if you were talking or if we'd be able to hear you. But here you are. Talk to me, my man.
Good to be back, Mark. Hope you're all doing well. It's just a shame, isn't it, how we've lost in the end. Roller coaster of emotions. We think we're going to win it at the end, and then a couple of minutes later, we just come crashing down to earth. And I think it's the story of the game where we go 1-0 up, we concede straight after. So I think there's a lot of positives to take away from the game, more positives than negatives, considering how we've A, started the season, and B, performed in the big away games. We had a clear game plan from the beginning: keep possession, utilize Onana. I mean, they were reading Onana's sort of number of passes, and it was just sort of the most of the season. And compared to De Gea, it was crazy. Sorry, I can't hear you, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, he's so calming, isn't he? I feel so assured watching him, and I know there was a lot of that at the back. But yeah, it was good to watch, and it's nice to have that sort of different dimension, isn't it? But
really good, because do you know what the other thing is? There's a tactical consequence of that. He doesn't get pressed because the attackers know that there's no point. He can just pass around them. So there's a bit of a gap between our defence and their attack.
Yeah.
And the other consequence I noticed is that opposition fullbacks are pinned back effectively. I think, last season, most of the time, and I'm sure Will can come on to it, we saw Ben White overlapping, getting forward. Yeah. We didn't really see that at all, because we know that, Onana can place that diagonal to Rashford and then he'd be clean through. So I think we had a clear plan from the off. I think in the first half, Eriksen played a lot deeper. He played deeper than Casemiro and then dropped in defence. He played that role, and it seemed to work. I mean, the goal was good. Eriksen interception, fantastic pass to Rashford, who is, as we all have called out, flourishes on the left and took his goal very well.
Yeah, very good.
It's just disappointing that I think it was a minute and a half later, they just go out the other end and concede.
40 seconds.
40 seconds, even worse. So it's, again, very disappointing. So yeah, but a lot of positives. You've touched on Højlund. I'm sure we'll get onto it. I think the attackers are going to take a long time to adjust to playing with a striker who can run in behind, more of a target man who hustles defenders. I don't think we've had that for a very long time, so we just have to tweak how we play. I think he did more than Martial in 5 minutes of coming on than Martial did in 60 minutes, which says it all, actually. So yeah, it's a lot of positives to take away. Dallo, again, I thought was superb. It took, for me, Arsenal's best player out of the game. I totally appreciate what Stu's saying. You do lose that attacking outlet and transition compared to a left footer, but it's a good sort of tool to have, having an inverted fullback. You know, I think Ashley Young used to do a good job against Salah from memory. So I think Dallo had a very good game, very good at sort of defending the back post as well. It's just the killer for me was the amount of corners Arsenal had, and I'd like to know the total amount from Martinelli and Wan-Bissaka. And every single corner, Declan Rice was free at the back. And I said it to myself sort of from the first one and then the end one. You know, it was inevitable, the goal. So it's a shame how it's all transpired. I don't think a loss away to Arsenal is the worst thing.
2 hour 2.
Yeah, and if you rewatch the game, you'll see how many times Declan Rice was free back post, and we unfortunately just didn't adjust to it, and that's probably one of the most disappointing things. I think Ten Hag's going to sort of have them on the tactics board tomorrow morning and say just that. But look, good performance. It's a shame. I think 3-1 flatters Arsenal in the end, but a lot of positives to take away, and I think the international breaks come at a good time. With Højlund coming back, we can work on our tactics. Hopefully Martinez isn't injured for too long, and we can build on the momentum of the performance today after we come back after the international break.
Yeah, good points. Well made. Quite a few of you in get liking, get subscribing, get some questions in, get your comments in. We want to see those, want to talk through those, I want to dissect them. I think you both summed it up really well, actually. It's really difficult to sort of go in on anybody today. I think none of them, for us at least, won't get any low ratings. And you did see that kind of click, you did see that kind of philosophy, and you did see that kind of structure from minute one. And it's just unfortunate it was up against Arsenal. And if you'd have kind of taken, a game where you could have made something from it, against a lesser opponent, no disrespect, I think that would have given us a nice bit of momentum going into the international fixtures. But yes, William, on the other side of the scale, my man, thanks for joining us. I hope the guys have broken it down well enough for you. How are you feeling about that, and do you disagree with any of those points?
No, I pretty much agree with the majority of them. I'm still on a high. I nearly lost my voice with celebrating when Rice scored that one. Like the roller coaster of emotions in that game, like throughout until we actually scored that goal, or even until VAR disallowed Garnacho's goal, which I called it offside straight away when it got played because he was.
I tell you what, you must have eagle eyes.
It's the one thing I'm good at is spotting when someone's offside. But no, I was relieved more than anything, and just the way that ye played, even the way we played, just really frustrated me that we weren't on ye enough. I understood it because we didn't want ye to transition on us to attack, but that meant we giving ye all the ball, and we can't score if we don't have the football, which is where we do the best. So I didn't understand the game plan, if I'm being honest, and didn't think it worked very well. I'm just relieved that we got the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's not about that necessarily. The 3 points all that matters. And I can assure you, game plan or not, we are frustrated, obviously, with 0 points entirely. Good points, well made. Helly, thanks for joining us in the comments. Fuck, I hate VAR. I'm going to say it because I think we're all feeling the same. Where's the advantage? Sorry?
Even we are. Because we had the penalty disallowed, which I know you'll say is very soft, but when you looked at it at the other angle, Casemiro's leg hit Havertz. But they didn't show that angle when they were reviewing it in VAR. As soon as it was overturned, they showed it from that side angle where you can see the contact.
Yeah,
it was really frustrating.
I think it was, obviously being biased, I think it wasn't a penalty for me. But we've seen those given. I think if we had conceded it, we've just have to accept it, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
I think it would have been. I don't think necessarily it should have been. I think when it was given, it shouldn't have been overturned. I don't think if it wasn't given, I wouldn't say it should be overturned to given a penalty either. Yeah. It was one of those where once he's given it and there is some contact, that there is nowhere else for him to go. But I didn't see enough in it to overturn it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's the referees seeing all the mistakes from, like, say, the City one. It's like, oh, we have to overturn something. Lord knows referees are just terrible.
I think ultimately, for both sides today, and the consistency of VAR, that is still very much a question. I think there are these little nuances that really need to be black and white. There's so much grey area, isn't there? And I feel that the game would be a lot more free flowing and go on.
There's one thing in life, Mark, and that, if you're going to give away a spot kick, do it fucking properly. I gave away a penalty in a friendly Wednesday night, but at least I clattered the fucker. And I did it properly. You know, don't let a player because what Will's saying is actually correct. He did get clattered. Well, not clattered, but he was clipped by Casemiro. The problem that the refs had was he was already kind of on his way down from the non-clip from Wan-Bissaka. And that was the problem. That was why it wasn't given. So I don't disagree with Will, actually, to be fair. I think you're absolutely right. But when you're kind of almost on the way down, so to speak, it makes it really difficult then to have phase B, so to speak, of the pen. And I think that's why it was disallowed. But if you're going to give away a pen, do it properly. Seriously, and I genuinely mean this, and I'm not trying to be, sensationalize anything.
This is why Stu is our mate, because we feel protected. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's how you do it. You know, there's no point a little shove for someone to go down. If you're going to shove him, shove him. If you're going to make your commitment, and most footballers will tell you this, if you're going to make a committed challenge, do it, and then just hold your hands up and say,
make it count. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I do.
And Havertz was anonymous again for you guys, and he had that one chance to maybe endear himself, and he blew it because he started to go down. Because Wan-Bissaka did get his foot out, just got his foot out, but then Casemiro did take him out. So I agree with your assessment on that, Will. But I think that's why it wasn't given, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all fair points. Freddy, any more to add on that penalty claim, or we'll move on?
Not a penalty for me. I think, obviously, I think it's very soft. If so, I'm just seeing a few Ten Hag comments after the game, and it seems to say he's blown a gasket. He's saying about the offside.
What's he saying? Go on. What's he saying?
I think he's saying the angle was wrong on the offside for the one they've judged it. Apparently, Højlund, the penalty, which I haven't seen really. I saw the incident from afar, but I'd have to see that again close.
Yeah, I forgot all about that one, actually.
Yeah.
I can. Will will shake his head, and I totally understand that. Okay, and I can see that Arsenal fans would feel unjustified if it had been given, but there was a lot of contact throwing around, and he was almost thrown to the ground.
Yeah, and
I think it's one of those again. But sorry, go on, Fred.
No, and talking about throwing to the ground, I think Johnny Evans at the end for the Rice goal, I think the defender had him and kept him away from Rice. He could have blocked it or had a second to get closer. So we'd have to see it all again. It's quite raw at the moment. But the Wan-Bissaka one, I don't think it's enough. I haven't seen the angle that Will's alluding to on the Casemiro side, but certainly on the Wan-Bissaka side, I think Rice sort of clipped. Havertz clipped Wan-Bissaka as opposed to the other way around. So probably the right decision on that. The offside, usually these are black and white. So fingers crossed VAR have made the right call. We'd have to see it from the side-on angle. But yeah, I'm sure that will all come out in the coming hours.
I mean, listen, I don't want to dissect and go into this too much, and I'm not an expert at all. But looking at this, what we all saying, Will, I'll come to you first on this. Obviously, I know you're going to be very much on Arsenal's side, but go on.
It is extremely close. What I feel like is he is leaning his body back on purpose, whereas he's just leaning offside. I think it's really close. And the most thing I'd be most frustrated is why don't we have the 3D offsides that they have in the Champions League? I get that some teams may not be able to afford it, but in the Premier League, they should at least do something for it to be available rather than drawing these lines, which are very ambiguous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in there?
It's kind of a bit after the fact, isn't it? That's the problem now. Of course. It's kind of after the fact.
It was only because it was there on my screen. I thought I'd share it with you all.
Do you know the interesting thing? And Gary Neville made a really good point about it. Is that Gabriel ducked his head, and when you duck your head, you kind of elevate yourself by millimeters, centimeters, and that's clear is what happened there. But look. We move on, don't we? We move on.
Just Just to finish, one thing that made me laugh, and this having referees on the media. I think it was Mike Dean today. He said, "Oh, it's a clear penalty." Then when VAR
he did
it, he's like, "Oh no, right call." So it just shows they haven't got a clue, have they?
They haven't got a clue. The thing is, though, nobody knows. Nobody knows. I mean, next week that'll be a goal. Yeah. That's the problem. That will be a goal next week, and chances are Havertz is a spot kick. So. And, you know, the Højlund one, we never saw. We didn't see any replays, did we? You know, so nobody knows, really. It looked like Gabriel was...
Could have easily been given. I'll say they were very rough, you know. It's gone.
I feel like I've got a new toy to play with, so I'm probably going to do this a little bit more. I'll try and get the Højlund one. I hope everyone's enjoying this. Load you in the comments. Get your comments in. Yeah, man.
Try and get the Højlund one.
I will try and get the Højlund one. Let's try and make it better. Well, it's not too hard, is it? But let's try and make it better than Monday Night Football, shall we? Anyway, right, let's move on then. So let's talk about Højlund. And I've come to all of you on this as well. Sorry, Will, obviously a bit more of a United channel. We're going to be talking about him, so I want to get your opinion on him as well. But Stu, what did you make of him coming on? I know we sort of picked up on it earlier, but yeah, are you impressed? Do you like what you see?
I reckon there's a Rashford-shaped dent in the dressing room wall at Emirates right now. Because I would imagine the first thing Højlund did was go and grab him out of his seat and absolutely shove him as hard as he could against the wall and say, cross the football and then drop him. Because my life, when you're making that type of run and you know what you want to do as a forward player, to then not have that ball delivered would absolutely infuriate you. Ruud van Nistelrooy used to have a gun in his sock. If Ronaldo never crossed him the ball, he'd get his gun out and point out at him, you know what to do, because this is what you need. And I made this point, you both know, I've made this point on numerous occasions. There's no point in having a 9 because we don't do anything with the football. We don't deliver the football. Now, some people say, oh, you know, it's route 1, etc., etc. It isn't route 1. It's basic football. When you've got a player, and Højlund showed me that he's going to bully a defender, he's going to get across the defender, he's going to do near post, far post, he's going to be a penalty spot area, he's going to be 6 yards. He is going to be the type of, or he's going to have that type of movement that Cavani gave us, that Ruud van Nistelrooy gave us. But if you don't deliver that football, there's no point. And if you remember the last kick of the game for us, the ball was clipped in behind the Arsenal defence, and there was no runner because Højlund was, probably that pissed off. And he's like, "What's the point?" You have to play his strengths. You've got to play his strengths, especially with a football with a striker, because honestly, strikers are so selfish. If they don't score, you don't speak to them for a week in training because they won't talk to you. They'll be absolutely livid, and they'll be constantly telling you what they want, where they want the ball, how I want you to deliver it, the speed I want you to deliver it, the angle I want you to deliver it. And if he misses, then that's it. That's his fault. You've done everything you can, and it's then up to the striker to put it away. But he's not going to miss if he doesn't get the ball played into him. So Anthony and Rashford have got a massive, I think we've got a big problem with them too in terms of delivery. And I don't think Højlund will get the goals or the chances he needs early doors until we start delivering. You can't, you all know that at least 2 occasions when Rashford went through and should have delivered the ball early to Højlund. Højlund certainly had the run on Gabriel once because Gabriel, he was deep, he was 5 yards off him. And if Rashford had squared the ball, he would have had a strike on goal. So difficult to judge what we're going to get from him. I like his tenacity. You tend to get that though when you pull on the red shirt or the green and white shirt of Manchester United as we were today. Yeah, and you play your debut. You're on cloud 9, etc., and you want to do everything you can. What he did do really, really well and has gone unnoticed in commentary was he came back and he won the ball 1 or 2 times on our 25-yard, 18-yard box area, 25 yards, 18-yard box area. And that was really impressive. So, but like I say, if I was him, I'd be giving Rashford hell tonight. I really would. Forget being new. You've got to lay the law down quickly, sharply. One quick thing I did notice was very refreshing to hear the lads sing for old Harry Maguire when he came on. I was quite pleased about that.
Yes, a lot of cheers. Which
A lot of
was
love for the guy.
obviously-
A lot of love
Yeah,
for the guy.
yeah.
But the cheers from
listen,
United or Arsenal? That's the
Well,
problem.
do you know what? I don't care. I think it probably elated him a
Yeah.
little bit coming on.
Bit of both.
You know what I mean? Probably. But he actually was very good. Listen, I don't want to go into
So
Harry
was Johnny
Maguire.
Evans. So was Johnny
Yeah,
Evans.
he was good as well. I think
the
our
old
defense
Leicester
was
pairing.
good today,
Yeah.
wasn't it? So I can't find anything on this bringing Hoyland down. But I am going to come to a few of the comments. Obviously,
We'll say it was a pen then, Mark. We'll just say
well, I mean, it was all over him. He did get thrown to the ground. Do you know what I mean? Listen, of course, I'm biased, but it is what it is. Ten Hag, obviously, it's not offside, wrong angle, penalty on Hoyland, foul on Evans. I think he said all of this very, very quick and very, very frustrated. We have to improve. It was such small margins today. We've covered this, and I do absolutely agree with that. Bruno Fernandes said it's always tough to lose the way we lost. We can see the late goal after trying to get the draw, and I think that's it. We've already said third goal is kind of irrelevant. You know, when you're kind of overcommitting high press, it doesn't matter. He goes on to say it is what it is. If it's an offside, we can't get on that. It was a good game. I'm disappointed by the result, but the performance on the team, the passion was there. If we keep doing this consistently, we will get results. Absolutely right. I thought we were good today. I really, really do. Let's come to Hoyland for you then, William. What did you make of him when he came on to the pitch? Around the 60th minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around then. I was really nervous. He made me feel uneasy. He really ruffled up Gabriel, which isn't easy to do. I know he hasn't been playing much, but he's a physical player and would like a battle, but he had the better of him. He seemed to get a few, like, not half chances, but he definitely seemed to do well. He has to start for you anyway. He's definitely going to be that number 9. He'll be class. Like, if he can get past one defender, centre back, and probably pin the both, you'll see Rashford get a nice amount of goals and Anthony get a nice amount of chances. Yeah. And then he can only do as much as he can do. But no, he looked very bright. Yeah, he looks a decent player for you. Just needs to get off the mark then soon.
Yeah, absolutely right. And listen, he played 30, 40 minutes. We liked what we saw. Lots of people talking about how quick he was, getting into spaces, bringing players out of position. Very, very good. And as United fans, we probably do get ahead of ourselves sometimes, but it was refreshing to see. And listen, if we see even, 50% of what he brought today all the time, I think we'll be happy with that. And of course, as you say, need to get him off the mark. Diogo Dalot, lots of talk about him today. I think there was a lot of talk pre-game. Roy Keane, a few others sort of mentioned it was going to be very difficult to pocket Saka. From what we know as United fans is that whenever he's played on the left, he has been very, very good. Not his natural position, absolutely fine. But again, he was terrific today and really quietened your most dangerous man, I think, Will, if you agree with me. But Stu, talk to me about what he sort of brought today.
Yeah, look, Dalot surprised me today because I would have put Reguilon in, to be brutally honest with you. I'd have had no issue putting Reguilon in. I think Reguilon would have been a smart move. As it turns out, Dalot can stick 2 fingers up at me and I'd have to graciously take it because I thought he was very, very, very good today. I was worried about the impact of Saka. And Will knows more than anybody the quality that Saka has, but I thought he was a passenger today. So much so that a Saka that had destroyed a Dalot would have easily buried that one chance that he had. He would have put it away with his eyes shut.
He should have. I think the goalkeepers said this, but he should have played it across him. I think actually it came through so quickly. I was caught by surprise. I think he kind of was caught by surprise and just snatched at it, didn't he? But I think that if he had a bit more time,
the Saka that had roasted Dalot for 60, 70 minutes at that particular time would have put it away, no problem. But he didn't have that game in him today. I thought Ødegaard tried to bring him into the game, tried to allow him to come into the game. It just didn't happen for him. Martinelli on the other side was a completely different kettle of fish. He still had problems even with Wan-Bissaka. I thought our fullbacks were outstanding, both of them.
they
really.
Yeah, they were.
Because Martinelli's no mug, Saka's no mug, Odegaard's no mug, and Nketiah's no mug. People can say what they like about Nketiah. He's a very, very, very good footballer. He's an absolute menace. And that was the problem, for Lindelof, and that was the problem for Martinez. So Dalot really surprised me. I don't like it when he inverts too much because he tends to go wandering a lot when he does invert, and he'll pop off to the right-hand side because that's where he's more comfortable at.
He and Malacia are very good at it. Actually, Luke
they
Shaw
are.
seems to sort of tear down that left-hand side and finds it very difficult to tuck inside. A bit like Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. But Malacia and Dalot are very, very good at that.
But his recovery pace today, I thought, was excellent. So, look, all in all, I thought, and it doesn't pain me to say it too much, but I thought he had a very, very, very good game. To keep Saka quiet, you've got to have played well, trust me.
Yeah, and I'll be looking forward to hearing whoever gives him his score later. Marcus, I know you've had some issues today with internet outage, but I really appreciate the fact that you've got here, my man, and I hope you're very well. Obviously, we've covered a lot of things, how we're feeling about the game. We talked about the Hoyland coming on. We talked about the sort of offside incident, both offside incidents, a few more other things to come as well. But if you come to and tell us how you're feeling after that and your sort of take on the game, that'd be fab.
I mean, just to extend on what Stu was saying, a big part of why our fullbacks had a good game today is actually because of Anthony and Rashford. They tracked back a lot today and they doubled up a lot. And that's the difference today with other games. I don't think it was necessarily that Wan-Bissaka and Dalot were better. I mean, their positioning generally was good, especially Dalot on the back post. Yeah. But it helps a lot when your wingers are actually tracking back and your wingers are actually doing their job defensively. My only comment is, why don't we do this every game? Why is it that we only turn up against Arsenal and then decide we want to actually defend? It doesn't make sense. But just on the game generally, I honestly don't agree with the masses. I've seen a lot of people saying United were unlucky, we played well. I don't agree with this. I think that if you are unlucky, it happens once or twice. But if something keeps happening over and over, especially under different managers, then you can't just blame luck anymore. Yes, we did play well throughout parts of that game, and we did keep Arsenal quiet throughout parts of that game. But it's not a coincidence that they were able to score at the end. The lack of squad depth is an issue because obviously Ten Hag having to look
you
to
looked
the
at
bench
that bench
and saying,
today, and it's frightening, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so for me, it's not luck. This is manufactured by our ownership. This is manufactured by the fact that we didn't sign a centre back. And I remember people on Twitter were saying, we don't need a centre back. We need to address the midfield. And I was like, guys, solving the midfield isn't going to magically fix this team. We've got other problems in the team. We've got other problems in the team that people have been ignoring because everybody's talking about the midfield. And I'm happy that Mount didn't start today because he can't be a scapegoat. People can't talk about how bad he is. So, yeah, but, on a more positive note, I thought Hoyland was good. Dalot was good. Wan-Bissaka was good. I thought Casemiro was half decent. Rashford got his goal. So, even though he was a bit frustrating on the ball, I think Rashford worked really hard defensively, as I said earlier. And there are a lot of positives to take away from that game. But I'm not inclined to agree with this idea that, Arsenal just got lucky. I think you got to give credit where credit is due. They took their chances and they deserve to win,
Very rarely do you win a football match with luck because you manufacture your own luck. You manufacture the chances. So, no. I thought we played well. Yeah, I did. But we weren't unlucky. No chance. No, I just don't buy that. Yeah.
Freddy, you wanted to come in and say a couple of things, my man. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus makes a good point. The fullbacks did a very good job today defensively, especially Anthony. I think Anthony's one of his strengths. I think is why Ten Hag favours him is his defensive work, and I think he has sort of developed a good relationship with Wan-Bissaka on that side. And we saw more of it from Rashford today, more so than we have, I think, in other games of the season. But something I touched upon at the beginning, I think Onana's distribution as well is a contributing factor for their fullbacks not pushing up. He seems to pin them back, and we might see that change with other opponents. But Ben White last season, one thing he was doing most games was overlapping Saka and providing that sort of additional support on the outside. We didn't see that today. I think Dalot did a very good job on him. The inverted fullback does help. And it was just good to see Saka not have a good game against us. He always turns up, usually always gets a goal against us. But Martinelli, this is the strength of Arsenal. They've got two solid forwards or wide players. If one doesn't do it, the other does do it. And Martinelli, I think, was brilliant today against Wan-Bissaka. He was going, if he wasn't cutting in, he was going down the byline. And they both of their attackers got that variation. Something I think we lack, certainly with Anthony. He just doesn't track down the line. Always cuts in. Hopefully with Højlund now we have a bit more variation. We're not as predictable. But it's up to the attackers, the wide players, to adjust their game and complement him in that way. Then I don't think they're as creative as other wide players for their strikers. So it's going to be interesting to see how much service he does get, whether the main outlet is going to be through Eriksen and Bruno, or if he does get that wide support. But I think Højlund hopefully is a bit of a game changer for us, because we haven't had anything really centrally in the attacking sort of third in a very long time. I mean, first half today, we're just passing it around the back. It'd be interesting to see how many final third passes we had. It was only really till Højlund came on that we looked a lot more dangerous. We were getting more touches in the Arsenal box, and so on. So yeah, this could alter our sort of build-up play going forward. We just need to use the 2-week gap now, or the international break, to work on our tactics and integrate Højlund as best as possible.
Yeah, I think, the international break was always a bit of a blessing for a lot of teams after the first 4 games. And whether you just win or just lose, it's always quite a benefit. But I think you're absolutely right, probably benefits us more because we do need to have that integration, as you quite rightly pointed out. Lots of criticism for Anthony recently. But I thought he was excellent today. Freddy, I want you to carry on with your thoughts on him, first of all.
Defensively, very good. Very good. There's a few instances where he sort of was our last man. He does track back. He has got that energy. And it's good to see him. And something I pointed out sort of back end of last season, he always used to come off 60 minutes along with Eriksen. And there was a third one, I can't remember, but those two always used to get lunged 60 minutes. So I think their fitness, they've obviously had a good pre-season. Their fitness seemed to be better. They look fitter, certainly Eriksen as well. And there's just a lot of question marks in Anthony in the final third. His decision-making still, lack of right foot. I mentioned it after the last game on here that we didn't really see, I don't recall him shooting at all today. Usually we get one or two sort of far posts, floaters. And he needs to just vary his game. I want to see laces more, go more for the near post. Needs some better his decision making. Some of his passes are sloppy. So defensive side of him, I think solid. I like that part of his game. Going forward though, really needs to develop. And this season's a big season for him. And I think we will see a lot more Palestri as well throughout as the season progresses. Should Anthony sort of have games where he, glimpses isn't enough. He needs to really start showing 7, 8, out of 10 performances, get a few more goals, assists as well. And I hope that, again, we bring it back to Højlund and the striker. Hopefully playing with a focal point will improve his game as well. So time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think this is Keen in the comments, kind of highlighting what you've just said there. A massive season for Anthony. For 90 million, we need to be seeing more. And we need to see it, as you said, collectively, where you kind of see that great defensive display. He was phenomenal today, and even going forwards, some of the things that he did was wonderful. I don't know if you remember in the first half, basically took out 3 players by turn. Wonderful to see. And I know these are all really silly things to talk about.
Don't forget,
to try and take those.
Don't forget, he was only valued at 40 million. He's only a 40 million quid player. It's our own stupidity that we paid 90 million quid for him.
Yeah, he was desperate for him.
That's us. That is. That's our fault. He's a 40 million pound player, and I think at the minute, his off the ball work is excellent, and it really is. His energy levels are excellent, but his forward thinking and his intelligence and his efficiency on the ball is questionable. Absolutely, but you get that from a 40 million pound player, so to speak. So the 90 million, it is what it is. That's our own fault. That is.
You don't rely on prices and what.
And he's got to develop himself. By the way, the onus is on him to develop himself. You see, and you hear a lot. Even the pundits are saying, "Well, Guardiola's made X, Y, and Z better." Absolute rubbish. They've made themselves better. Those are you're the one that can develop yourself. And Anthony's got to, think about what he wants, think about what his game is. Because I think he's confused about his game. I don't think he knows what his game is, where his strengths and his attributes are, and he's got to decide what they are. We've got the same with Sancho. He's kind of gone into this no man's land, and he's got to decide now, what are my strengths? What made me the player that I am? What made Man United come and knock on my door? And Anthony's got to do the same. He's got to kind of understand and re-identify his own persona and personality within the game and at Manchester United. But only he can do that. You know, that's up to him. So like I say with Martial about staying fit, Varane about staying fit, you know, again, it's down to you to change your regime to keep yourself fit. Do what you need to do to stay fit. Well, Anthony needs to do what he needs to do to, you know, improve in the attacking third. Because Freddy's right. You know, 70% of the pitch, brilliant, but the last 30% woeful, and he needs to do that.
And that's the most important, right? That's the most important. Coming to this, I'll come to you. Sorry, Will, I will come to you in 2 minutes, buddy. Really, really apologise. I'm upsetting everyone today. It's been a bit of a hectic nightmare, isn't it? But anyway, it's been a good show so far, guys. Really appreciate it. And obviously, get like and get subscribed. Really, really important. Get your comments in. And Lydia has just joined. Good game from Man United. We think so too. I think it was just a bit unfortunate in the end. Marcus, Keane says here, I want to see Sancho on the right. He would be the ideal player to link up with Rasmus. That's the first thing, obviously, I want you to come to as well. But secondly, off the back of what Stu said, is it just maturity that Anthony needs? I know that obviously he's got lots to work on, but do you think he's kind of on the cusp? You know, how old is he? 23, 24, on the cusp of making that change due to maturity, sort of taking accountability and doing what's being asked?
I mean, it's twofold with Anthony. On the one side, it is a mentality issue, I guess you could say, decision making. But I think it's also a tactical issue, because I think these are teething pains that we're seeing with Manchester United. When you look at the way Anthony played for Ajax, even if you didn't watch Ajax, if you watched some of his highlights and did some of the research, read scouting reports, one of the common things you would hear is that he always used to cut in with his left foot, and he didn't always shoot. Sometimes he would actually cross on the back post, and that's how Ajax would score some of their goals. So he actually had a lot of variety to his game, even though he was one-dimensional because he always cuts in. You didn't know whether he was shooting, whether he was crossing, or whether he was laying it off simply. I feel like at Manchester United has become really one-dimensional because for a multitude of reasons. One, we're a team that's still trying to find our identity. Two, we haven't really had a proper focal point in the team, so it's hard to really play with crosses and try to give someone service when there's no one there. And then also on top of that, we don't have someone consistent playing through the middle, even if, you know, it is Rashford. Like Rashford now is playing on the left again, right? It would be a different story if Rashford, if we said, okay, we don't have a number 9, but we're going to play this player as the number 9, and we're going to consistently play them throughout the season. And this is what I want you to do, and work on it game in, game out. So I think that's the problem with Manchester United at the minute. And it's impacting players like Anthony, it's impacting players like Sancho. And this is why I'm not a big believer in this idea. I saw people criticizing Erik ten Hag, and look, it's fair game. If you want to criticize the manager, go ahead. But my question to these people is, do you really think starting Sancho and Martial, or whoever it is that you want to start? Some people think McTominay would have helped today. Do you really think that's the difference between us beating Arsenal? Do you really think that was the difference between us beating Spurs and losing last week? I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah,
I really, really don't. And I think anybody who does think it's that simple, I don't know if football is for you, So it's a weird one. But I do believe in Anthony, and I really find it strange that people are pressuring Anthony a lot more than Sancho, because Sancho's been here a lot longer at the club. Yeah. Martial's been here for 9 seasons, I think. Right? There's other players in that team who've been here for a long time. Anthony's still a new player. So I don't like the pressure that's on him, but it is what it is, and he has to deliver, unfortunately. He's at a big club now.
Yep. Great points, well made, everybody, and very straight to the point there, Marcus, but absolutely agree with you, buddy. William, I think if everybody was asked the question, which player would you take from the Arsenal side for that Miss Man United squad, I think everyone would say Saka. But to me, I think the first name on everybody's lips should be Odegaard. Great finish today, and a wonderful player. Stu obviously already alluded to that earlier, but talk to me about how much of a fan you are of him and what he brings, obviously.
No, to be honest, he's just changed the entire way that we were built. As soon as he came in, he just took everything by the horns and just dragged us higher and higher and higher to new heights. He just has this mix of aggression mixed with technical ability that when you put it all into one package is just so hard to stop. Like, you saw it straight away. Like, he wasn't having the best of the games at the start. Like, no Arsenal player really was. And then as soon as United score, it was like Odegaard was like, no, this isn't happening. Took it on himself to then just dictate the play in the next 38 seconds. Comes for the cutback, boom, scores. Doesn't let the game go by him. It's just... even when he's not having the best of games, he's so dangerous as well because everyone's worried about him. It's like you will not let him get that ball into space, so it creates more spaces for some of our more threats elsewhere, whether it be Martinelli, whether it be Saka. It depends where it is. It just makes things so much harder, and he's the heartbeat of the team, and even then he's more probably even the brain of the team as well.
Yeah, good points.
I've just seen. I'm reading some quotes. I think Ten Hag's doing his post match now, and he's just had this to say on Sancho. So he didn't get selected today because of his performances in training. We didn't select him. You have to reach a level every day at Manchester United. You can make choices in the front line. So in this game, he wasn't selected. So I think there was a bit of speculation before the game that he was missing due to injury. It's actually due to recent
Being
poor.
dropped.
I
dropped.
would believe that if he didn't disappear for 3 months last season. I would believe that, but I'm very skeptical about that, just because of his past with Ten Hag.
I don't know because when that happened last year, Marcus, he didn't mention in training, did he? He just sort of was quiet. I think he batted it off. I don't think you would be as critical if it was that. It's quite a sensitive subject, but I'll be honest with you.
That's true.
I think Keane's comment about starting Sancho on the right, I don't see it. We've not seen enough of Sancho. Certainly the Sancho at Dortmund, I don't think he's the right profile of wide player in this Ten Hag team or just for a United team generally. I think he looks better centrally. We played him obviously through the middle during pre-season. I thought that would be an area or a role that we would explore at the start of this season. Evidently we haven't. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season for him, and interesting to see how his future sort of unfolds leading up to next summer.
Yeah, I think that's quite a damning comment there. Go on, Stu.
It just comes down to personal choices. What I was trying to say. When Keane's put in a comment that Guardiola's improved John Stones. John Stones improved himself. Guardiola's guided players. You guide players as managers, but you can't actually physically make them improve. You have to do that yourself. And this is Sancho's issue. Sancho's problem has been he hasn't been able to improve. He hasn't been able to adapt. Donny van de Beek was superb. Ajax is doing exactly the same right now. They're just falling within themselves. You get comfortable. It's very easy to get comfortable at Manchester United. We've seen this for the past 7 years. Players come in, they get comfortable, they get put on big contracts and they get comfortable. Sancho's one of our top earners, isn't he?
300.
Yeah, something like that. You get comfortable in life. If you really want to be serious about your craft, and you really want to be serious about playing for the club or playing professional football at the elite level, you're the one that has got to pull your own finger out. You're not a puppet. When you walk onto the pitch, you haven't got your manager's arm shoved up your arse and he's telling you what to do and where to go. It's you. You've got to use your own eyes. You've got to use your own ears. You've got to use your own feet to get you there. And if you can't be bothered or you can't be, asked in any way, then you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be on that pitch. You shouldn't be pulling on any type of football shirt. And this is the trouble with modern day football fans. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out. It's the trouble with modern day football fans. You're on easy street all the time. Easy street because, it's this. Sancho's this.
Oh.
Hang on.
Sancho must be watching the stream.
Yeah,
Go on.
I called it 3 years ago, Mark, when we were linked with Sancho, and somebody in the comments told me I haven't watched enough German football. But I've been proven right. The whole time I've been proven right. I was on the same show with you about Sancho.
I do remember
what
this,
he does in another country is an absolute irrelevance. It's what he does in your country and your team that's important. So, look, I fall out with people all the time about coaching. I fall out about, with people all the time about training. When you're training, you are guided. You are discussing certain things. You're honing your skills because, quite frankly, okay, and again, I'm going to say it again, if you've got to tell an elite footballer playing for Manchester United what to do, where to stand, where to be, where to look, he shouldn't be anywhere near your club. He shouldn't even be playing semi-pro, in any country, because that's not what it's about. You're there to hone your skills in training, talk about the opposition, and then it's up to you to understand the opposition, understand who you're marking, what he does, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses. It's all down to you as the individual. I cannot emphasize that enough, because when you cross that white line, and if you haven't done your homework on your player, he's going to make you look a right tit. And maybe Dalot's done that with Saka, because I've never seen anyone this season, most of last season, null Saka like Dalot did today. So maybe he's done his homework. Maybe he's looked at videos of it. Maybe he's gone to the analyst department and said, look, what are Saka's strengths? Where do I need to be? How can I nullify him? Maybe he's done all that, because that's what an elite professional footballer does. You do everything that you can to make sure that you're first name on the team sheet week in, week out, and you never get dropped. And Sancho clearly can't be bothered. He clearly can't be bothered unless somebody wants to argue against me, but he clearly can't be bothered. And this is what we say about going back to Anthony. It's all about his own ability, his own way of identifying what he's going to do and how he can bring more to Manchester United. That's down to the individual player. The coaches just kind of knit it together. It's the player. You're the only one that can. I promise you're the only one that can make yourself better. If you can't play with your left foot, right, the coaches are going to tell you how to play better with your left foot. The only way is you get out on that pitch and you train and you keep kicking with your left foot. Anyway,
I think also on Sancho, I'd like to say that I think a lot of Manchester United fans misprofiled him when he first came to the club. There was this hype around Sancho, and it almost seemed as if people were making it sound like he was going to come in and be this explosive, dynamic winger who was just going to solve all our problems. And he isn't that player. He's very much a player who relies on give and go, balls to feet. He doesn't want the ball into space. He doesn't want to run into space. He's not like a Rashford or Garnacho. And I think that's the fundamental issue I have with Jadon Sancho personally. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I put it like a tweet a few weeks ago during preseason. When everybody was saying that Sancho is playing well, I was like, yeah, I think he is. But if he wants to get into the team, he needs to be more direct. And then people were like, but he's not a direct player. And I'm like, exactly. So he needs to be more direct if he wants to get into this team, because that doesn't mean you need to run yourself into blind alleys. That doesn't mean you need to be exactly like Marcus Rashford, but that does mean that you need to be able to take a man on. Because when you look at the way Manchester United play, and we were discussing this on a show recently, I was discussing it with Kai. Oftentimes when Martinez and Maguire or Martinez and Varane are looking up with the ball, there isn't really many passing options in close proximity. Most of our front five or front six are pinned deep in the opposition half, looking to receive the ball, like that long ball that we always play over the top. And you need a player who's going to be able to get that switch, run into space, take their man on, and then whip it into the box. And Sancho's just not that guy. He prefers to hold it up. He's more mercurial. He's more of a pretty footballer, right? Baller FC love him because he's just all what's the word? All flamboyant, but no end product type of player. That's at least how he comes across to me at Manchester United. And it's a shame, because I think he actually has the ability to take people on. I think he actually has the ability to nutmeg players. But for some reason, the confidence to take a man on just isn't there. And it's strange. It really is, because you see Rashford today, like Rashford was very frustrating today. And there were definitely moments where he should have passed. But there were also moments where he got past 2 or 3 players because of his pace, but also just his presence of mind and his ability to say, you know what, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to try get to the byline, and then I'm going to look up and try my best to whip it in. And that's, Højlund almost had a chance because of that, a golden chance, because of Rashford being direct on the byline. Sancho needs to do that more often. And I don't know why he's not doing it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, that's something I just haven't been able to figure out about Sancho.
Very well summed up there, buddy. Right, I'm going to have to make this really, really fast. So try and be as quick as you can. Now, unfortunately for you, William, we aren't going to rate any Arsenal players because we don't care. Okay. However, I want you to join in with us. This could be a little bit of fun. Let's see all the faces that happen after you give your rating. So I'm going to point it to you first, my man. And I give you a Nana out of 10. And it could be point whatever you want.
Somewhere between a 6 and a 7. I think he was very good at stages. He definitely dictated the play. Where he loses it for me is I think he has to save that Declan Rice shot. You can't get beaten at your near post there.
I do agree
I think
with
he
that.
has to save that. But I thought he had a decent game. That save from Saka was straight at him, but he still had to make it. And the way he was just able to distribute the ball calmly, I thought he was good. So I'll give him a 7.
Okay, 7. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I'll come to you, Freddy.
Probably a 6 today. He made a few good challenges. I think it was a good battle between him and Martinelli. More sort of on the defensive side today. I don't think he contributed that much attacking or offensively rather. So I'll give him a 6. Few good tackles, but had a bit of a handful. I think Martinelli looked quite good today, so a 6. And just a sort of commendment on some of his defensive work as per usual.
Yeah, fair. I'll come to you, Marcus, on... Wow, actually, we haven't covered this just very quickly. Obviously, Martinez and potentially Lindelof limping as well. How many more? How many more?
I mean, Lindelof today, the yellow card. I don't know if it was Saka or Martinelli. I believe it was Nketiah, actually.
Nketiah.
It was Nketiah, yeah. That was out of character for Lindelof. The way he just got himself into that situation and then panicked. There was no reason to panic. Once he realized that Nketiah was there, he should have assessed the situation and said, okay, he's the only one up. Let me just try chase him. And worst case scenario, Onana will come out and collect the ball. There was no need to go in there. And then from there, his performance just kind of slipped because obviously when you run a yellow card, it is what it is. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for me. I don't think Lindelof was to blame for anything, but at the same time, he could have done a lot better there.
Yeah, I think it all stemmed from, and that was schoolboy, really. If the ball hasn't gone out of play and you haven't actually seen it go over that line, you do not assume it's going to do that. And that's where it all stemmed from. That was really poor and not really an expected thing from Lindelof. I think that did let him down a little bit. And of course, yellow card, as you say, it all went downhill from here there, really, didn't it? Martinez, Stu.
Gets a 6. I don't think it was anything special today. It was just one of those. When you look at the penetration that Arsenal provided, it was mainly down the wings. There was a couple of times where he got in, didn't he, against Havertz? But that was really his position that got him there. So I'd say 6. I don't think there was anything to write home about.
We'll have to see how damaging the injury was. A bit of a worry. Sort of sat down and.
I presume it's hamstring. I'm guessing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we can't afford any more. But anyway, right. Moving on to Dallo then on that left hand side. William, over to you, buddy.
United's man of the match. He absolutely pocketed. Yeah, it was because he got help from Rashford, but he was the best player for United on the pitch.
Yeah.
An 8 or maybe even higher than an 8, but he was perfect. There wasn't much you could ask much more, maybe a bit more in the attacking front, but that wasn't his role today. It was to stop Saka, and he done it perfectly.
Yeah. Out of did you give him a rating out of
10? 8 or 9. 8.
Okay. Yeah, 8. I think that's fair. I think he was very, very good today. We've spoken a lot about him. Very good. So yeah, I can't disagree with you. Casemiro, I'll come to you, Freddy.
6. I don't think he did the basics right. It's tricky in that Arsenal midfield, certainly with Odegaard in the 10 position. I think he played the assist for Garnacho's offside goal, so he might have got a 7 if that was given onside. But that's probably a 6 today. I think he made a few mistakes, a few missed passes early on.
He did,
and I think. Obviously, it doesn't help when Declan Rice is your sort of opposition. I think Declan Rice had a superb game.
He was good. Mm-hmm.
So using that as a benchmark, probably a 6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was defending Casemiro to the max today in a lot of group chats, and I am concerned about it. I think it's a little bit too early to get worried, but he hasn't been on point, has he, for the first few games in particular. Today, not as bad, but certainly some mistakes there. and it does concern me a little bit, and I don't want everyone else to be right. So, Casemiro, if you're listening, step it up, please, buddy. Right, moving on to Bruno Fernandes. Marcus, over to you, my good man.
Yeah, everyone knows I love Bruno, but today, I don't know if it was just the emotions, because it is hard to analyze a game objectively when there's 22 players on the pitch and all you care about is your team winning the game. But I didn't notice Bruno at all today. No. I just didn't. I think he was a ghost today. So for me, it's a 5 out of 10. I don't think he did anything particularly wrong, but I can't even recall one pass that he played. And that's not to say he was terrible. I just genuinely didn't notice him. It felt like another one of those performances.
Yeah.
Can I just offer an adverse on that? I totally agree. I think he was anonymous today, and it was a bit odd. But I think we had our game plan in the first half contributed to that. We were just, I think it was keep ball. We were playing on our sort of on the first third. It was just Onana to defence.
Yeah.
I just don't think any of our sort of attackies or attacking players saw the ball at all. Certainly during the first half. Second half, as well. You've got Martial. Bruno, he needs someone in front of him. Otherwise, you just take Bruno out of the game. You need a runner. So, I think it was a lot to do with the game plan today. But equally, I think in-game intelligence, you need to sort of, if you're not getting involved, drop deeper, help out your midfield, don't get overrun, all of that.
Exactly.
So, a little bit of sympathy, but I think that 5-6 is totally fair. He wasn't great today.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Right, going to have to speed this up a little bit, guys. Really, really sorry about that. So, Stu, I'm going to give you both Ericsson and Anthony.
Ericsson gets a 6. Anthony gets a 6. I would have given Bruno a 4, by the way, Marcus. I think.
I would have.
I think you're generous.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think you're generous with a 5. But yeah, 6 for both.
Yeah, I would have done the same. Well, I'm lost.
Rashford,
thank you, Marcus. Do you want to take over?
yeah, I mean,
no, come on, Rashford for you.
Difficult one.
I mean, very difficult one because he scored the goal, but again, he was just. This is the thing. I get into so many arguments with people because, again, I understand that having GA doesn't outweigh all of the bad stuff that you do. But at the end of the day, goals win games of football. And if it wasn't for Rashford, we're not in that game for 90 minutes. It's only because he scored that goal that we even had a chance against Arsenal. Yeah. So I'm going to cut him some slack and say 6 out of 10. Even though he definitely should have passed the ball to Højlund on that one chance.
Yeah, we actually
could have easily won that game.
For those of you that haven't been in for the whole show, and obviously Marcus as well, at the very beginning, we did talk about this with Højlund. You could see that there's, like it was with Onana in the first game, like it was for Mount for a few games, you could see that it was almost like Rashford didn't know what to do with it. And you're talking about at that point, there was one other as well, I believe. That's
extra.
something that's going to have to...
Couple,
definitely. Right, moving on to...
Martial.
Jesus. Honestly, my head's gone. Martial, I'll give that to you, William.
I'd say 4. To be honest, he was invisible. Like, I didn't see anything. He was as invisible as Bruno, so done nothing. Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Højlund, then I'll give that to you, Freddy.
7. I think it was a good debut. Very promising. I think stylistically, he ticks a lot of boxes. He's strong, showed a lot more sort of short bursts of speed in a few minutes of coming on than Martial did in the previous 60, 65 minutes. Hassled Gabriel, as we alluded to earlier. So really, really exciting player. So I'll give him a 7. It's a nice game to come into, good atmosphere, and he had he had a good impact. So yeah, very exciting to see how the rest of the season holds for him.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult not to get carried away, isn't it? I'm sure all fans do this. I think United are in the limelight a little bit more, so it gets, taken too far. But he was exciting, and I can't wait to watch him again. I really, really feel that.
For 20 years old as well. There's a lot of pressure on him. We can't just expect him to return 20 goals and assists. So we need to just be patient with him. He's going to develop. But yeah, all the signs are positive so far, so fingers crossed.
Looks great. Right, quickly on Garnacho. Stu, do you want to take him quickly and then we'll wrap up?
Well, you touched the ball once, didn't you? And that was the goal.
Yeah, but what a finish. Let's talk about it as it was 2-1 to United. Yeah.
I don't know, 6, I guess. Tricky one, that, If I'm on that pitch, I'm expecting him to score. Period. That's my expectations. Oh, he scores a goal. And I thought he took it really, really well because he took it early, and that was where Ramsdale was. He didn't give Ramsdale any time to set himself, and that was pretty good. But he didn't do anything apart from that, so he gets 6.
Yeah,
that'll do his confidence wonders. So that's a big positive as well.
Harry Maguire came on. He's been absolutely vilified, and I thought he did okay. I thought he did all right. So I'm going to give him a 9 just for pulling on the shirt.
Oh, I love it, Stu. I tell you what, your analogies mixed with your nonsense, it's great. Right, guys, we're going to finish up there. It's been well over today, and I'm not going to disagree with Stu because I'm going out for a meal with him next weekend, and it'll probably be very rocky. But anyway, listen,
we forgot about Johnny Evans, man of the match as well.
Oh, we did. Yeah. We didn't even talk about the Rice goal. Actually, man, he was all over him. Yeah, was it a travesty? I mean, we've seen them given. You know, we're disgruntled because it was not given. But I mean, come on, at least have a little look. We spent a load of time on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which turned out it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? At least have a little look. Listen, guys, loads you've been in today. Really, really appreciate it. Obviously, if you are watching or have watched or watching it after, make sure you give it a like and subscribe. Really, really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. Will, Stu, Freddy, Marcus, all sensational as per usual. You helped me along very nicely. But anyway, we have got a few good shows obviously coming up. Previews again, reactions, a few other bits and pieces. Until then, we will see you next time.